Laughter for All podcast. I am Comedian Nazareth, and thank you for joining us for another episode. It is episode number 119, people, almost going on 3 years with you guys. And praise God, we're getting 4,000 downloads. So it's really picking up. I honestly, in the beginning, the first year, I'm like, when is people going to start subscribing? When are they going to start downloading this? But it's working, and I'm thankful to you guys for that. Also, the Live with Nash show every weeknight. We are on show number 408 tonight at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook and YouTube, so you can join us and laugh with us. We have a lot of comedians and a lot of lay people that are very funny, and people who just want to laugh, people who just want to be encouraged, and people who want to wait till the last 7 minutes to give us their prayer requests. So join us. And today I have a guest. I call her a friend because we are friends as comedians in that faith-based market. We meet once a year, but COVID ruined it. But at the Christian Comedy Association, sometimes we talk on each other's podcast and all that. But we become friends, and we hear about other. They go, yeah, like 2 days ago, I was in Franklin, Indiana, and Haas Ridgway, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he goes, "Yeah, Rhonda Corey." I go, "Yeah, Rhonda, how's she doing?" I'm like, and then I go, "Wait, did I ever meet Rhonda in person?" But I think we did at the Crushing Comedy. We'll find out. But let me introduce her. Rhonda Corey truly embodies the New England spirit. It's no wonder that her authenticity with a twist of lovable sass has resonated with audiences from Rhode Island to California, where we are tonight. She has performed on stages of clubs, churches, corporate, and fundraising events. She is the winner of Chicago's Clean Comedy Challenge 2018 and the producer and host of the live stream sensation Talk a Sheep with over 100 episodes in the books. She recently recorded her Drive-By special, which will be released this year. So please welcome my friend, Rhonda Corey. Hi, Rhonda.
Hey, Naz. It's good to
How
see
are
you.
you? Same
I'm
here. Thank you
I'm
for
doing
taking the time
great.
to be on the show. That's awesome. You're in Rhode Island.
I'm in Rhode Island, and it's actually, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's pouring raining outside.
It's raining?
It's pouring outside, and it's
It
9:30 here. So,
it rained here in California today.
oh
Y-
wow, oh
Yeah.
wow.
So we called
Hmm.
FEMA. We're like, okay, what's the next step? We're not used to. What do we do? What do we do? Is this gonna stop? But I've never. You know what? I think I've been to Rhode Island. I did a tour with a rabbi where we did New England, Martha's Vineyard,
Oh,
Nantucket. Is
hmm
that close? I think we did Rhode
close,
Island. We did a
but it's
synagogue, I think, or a church in Rhode Island. I'm not sure.
oh nice, nice.
So what is Rhode Island like? I mean, before we get into your comedy, what is Rhode Island like? Is that an island? Is it an island?
Rhode Island is not an island because that would be it would mean it would have to be surrounded by water. But people do think Rhode Island is an island. So I could be an island girl then, but I'm not. Anyway, so Rhode I actually grew up more in Massachusetts, and so I'm here, but it's only, I grew up like 45, 50 minutes away from where I live now. But now I've lived here for, gosh, over 20 years, I think. So, but I love it in the summer. In the winter, I need to be where you're at. That's
How did you lose your accent?
I know I don't have an accent.
You should have it like
I know I
Bahaba.
don't
Mm.
I keep telling, see, you finally someone who sees it my way. I don't have an accent. I
I
don't
don't
have.
either.
I know. I noticed both of us.
Okay, let's
Both
be
of
in
us.
denial, both of us. No,
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
think
you.
so. Just a
You don't
little.
have an accent. No, you don't. And
Yeah.
I'm just, so. How is comedy in Rhode Island? I mean, is there comedy clubs? Is there churches that doing comedy? How big is it? I just, I don't
So
know.
yeah, so comedy in Rhode Island, there's not a lot of churches that do comedy in Rhode Island. Unfortunately, there's a few that that I have done comedy in my own. Hope Church, Rhode Island, woo woo, giving out, giving a little props to them. And I have done a few in some of the local churches, not a ton though. I mean, it's kind of a new thing around here. It's not like it is in the South or Midwest or wherever else that they have a lot of comedy. But yeah, they have like one comedy club really. Oh, actually, Bill Simas just opened up a comedy club, but they have a lot of comedy in venues around here. So it's more like in like a Lions Club or function rooms or restaurants,
Mm.
country clubs, things like that.
Have you noticed, even, I mean, in 2020, 21, 2022, or even before the pandemic, it's harder for a female to do comedy than a male? Is it? Is that still the case?
I think so. I'm like, it's usually like you're not gonna see two females on a show for the most part, unless
Mm.
it's a pretty big show, right? It's nothing to see um two, three, four males, but to see two females, it's not common, for the most part. I'm a token female, and plus I'm a clean comic, so I'm a clean female comic. So that's a rarity,
Do you
Um,
even at the church do you feel sometimes some of the older women looking at you like, what are you doing here? Is this is this happens or
It, well, I started with a team of female speaker. Okay,
uh-huh.
so we would go around, and there was a little every once in a while, and I mean, like I said, my jokes are completely clean, but there could be any topic. I mean, there's going to be people that are going to complain about anything, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't. Somebody's going to get offended somewhere somehow, just because they don't like the color blue when you wore blue. So, I mean, that's just that's just how it is. But for the most part, I think people are happy just to be able to have the opportunity to laugh.
When did you decide you want to be a comedian? Like, I want to do this for a living.
For a living. Um, well, I started doing comedy. It's kind of I have a weird kind of a story the way
Tell
I
him.
started.
We love to hear weird stuff
Weird,
here.
you love weird stories? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I've got one for you.
We have 70 people want to hear a weird story, so go for it.
Oh, awesome, you guys. Um, so the way I started, I was in my church. I started doing comedy in a church, which doesn't everyone. Um, Not at all.
No.
But I was part of a women's ministry team, and we were doing a retreat. And for the retreat, I was heading up the games. And
Mm.
so it started with me doing like a mix and match. It was going to be like a sheet, a mix and match. Eve was the first dressmaker, and it was going to be like that. And then I had all these women characters, characters from the Bible, and I said, well, why don't I just act them out?
Mm.
And so that's what I did. And then they had to guess who it was. My favorite was Rahab because she had gum, and she had on she had on a fake fur coat and a leather skirt and boots, and she kind of talked like this, like, what are you spies doing in this neck of the woods? Don't you know if don't you know if the king saw you, he'd have your necks literally? And so anyway, so that was part of, like, and they'd have to guess who that was. And
Uh-huh.
so I did that for that retreat. I did it for another retreat, and then I started, like, actually I went to several churches, and then
Mm.
I started. We had a comedy night in our church, and I actually opened up for Tim Hawkins. His DVD, his actual DVD. Like, I was the entertainment before the DVD.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I know. You thought, like, wow, Adam, who is
No.
talking about her? No, he doesn't know. unless he's watching this now, he knows. And Shonda's actual DVD too. So like I was, I'd made it big time, but that's how I started. I started doing, I tried stand up, which or what I thought was stand up back then. And so I ended up getting connected with she was actually heading up the women's ministry team at the time, and we became fast friends. And she was a very gifted speaker with a tremendous story, and I don't think and I felt like I was being called into doing comedy. She felt called into speaking, and so we teamed up with and our name is Take Two Ministries, actually.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yes, I know. God gave me that in the middle of the night. And Gail Cooper was my partner and still is. And then we kind of veered off on our own too. She started speaking on her own, and I started doing comedy on my own. And that's how I started in comedy. And honestly, I thought I was going to be, and I do churches now, but I'm doing a lot of, I guess what we would in the Christian field call secular events. I mean, I'm with, comedians that are not Christians,
But is it a clean night or just like regular club?
No, they're not, for the most part, not always. I'm clean. I will do, my act is the same. Whether I'm in a club setting or whether I'm on a stage at church, that's my act. And so because of that, I'm constantly trying to make sure that, it's good enough, because otherwise it's not going to hold up.
What if I was sitting next to you on the plane, and I always ask this question to everybody on the plane next to me? What is something you know more than anybody else?
What is something I know more than anyone else?
Like what that would be something that you can talk about, that you know a lot about. What would that be?
I could talk about myself. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. Aren't we all?
What could I could talk about a lot of different things. I could talk about baking. I love to bake.
Uh-huh.
I could talk about comedy because I love comedy.
Right.
I don't know. I know a little bit about a lot of things and nothing.
So, growing up, you grew up in Massachusetts.
I grew
Did
up
you
in
have a normal home, mom and dad at home?
So actually, I was born in California.
Ah, where at?
I was born in Barstow, California.
Barstow, yeah. In the way. Were your parents going to Vegas to?
No, my father was in the service at the
That's
time,
right. Uh-huh.
and so that's why. And my father was a radio announcer,
Oh,
and he started his radio career when he was in the service. And so then when he got out, he started at radio stations. And so that is not like the most stable job because, they change the format. A new station manager comes in. He gets ticked off, whatever.
right.
And so we moved around a lot until we came to Massachusetts. 14 times in 13 years, my mother moved. I didn't move all of those times, but my brother did, actually. And so I was about 6 years old, I think 6 years old when we moved to Massachusetts. And that's really where I grew up. And that is how, and listen to this, Nazareth. Ready?
Ready.
I come from, both of my parents were born Jewish parents.
Oh, that's where you got the name Corey. Corey means a priest.
No, that's my married name.
Is he Lebanese?
No, he's Armenian and Irish and Italian, and actually it's Irish is the last name. That's his father. Mm-hmm.
Corey. Okay, so you were both Jewish. Your parents both Jewish.
Both Jewish parents. Yeah, I had both Jewish parents.
And you became a Christian comedian. What a disappointment, huh?
No, actually, so my parents, they ended up giving their lives to Christ when I was young. I was 8 years old. So
Amen.
I was 8. So my father met the pastor of the church that we ended up going to by doing his radio show. And he invited us to church, which I was extremely excited because all my friends went to church, but me, And so, and I was 8 years old when I asked Jesus into my heart, and then when I was
Amen.
14, I left to start building baggage for my testimony. So,
Okay. And when did you start talking about your testimony after that? When you were what?
let's see, I was I wanted to get married, um, and I was pregnant because I like to do things like totally backwards.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's see. I just got engaged yesterday, so that works. No. Um, so I wanted to get married in the church that I grew up in. My mom was still going to church, and she was just a dedicated Christ follower, and so I talked, she talked to the pastor, and it wasn't something that would normally happen when somebody was expecting that, that he would marry them. But I don't know what God must have spoke to his heart. And so I ended up getting married in the church that, I grew up in. And I started going, honestly, I started to go just so I would show my face around, wink, wink. And then afterwards, I had the getaway plan, but God had a different plan. And that was so, that was, it wasn't like there was one day and then that was my whole life changed. It was a gradual thing. It was very gradual. And
Mm,
I all of a sudden I realized I wasn't going for out of obligation. I was going because I wanted to go.
mm.
And it just changed my life completely. And then I just rededicated my life to Christ. And so and I've been walking with him ever since.
Amen. I have a question from Michelle
Okay.
from Ohio. It says, Rhonda, what did you do for work prior to comedy, and how did that transition from 9 to 5 to comedy look?
Oh my goodness. All right. So what didn't I do? Okay, in my previous life, I was a bartender. I
Oh,
bartendered and I waitressed for years and years. And then then I did Mary Kay's Cosmetics forever. I did Mary Kay Cosmetics. And I'd earned the red Grand Dam for a couple of years. I know, right? And a couple of diamond rings. And
no
so
pink Cadillac?
no pink Cadillac. First is the red Grand Am, and then I petered out after that. But um, I was like, this is hard. And then so my son, I wanted to have a job where I brought him to school every day, and I was able to pick him up. I wanted to be there for my son. And so that was hence the Mary Kay. And then I got into cleaning. I started doing house cleaning. A friend talked to me. It's like, it's great, fast money. And so I started a cleaning business. And I
Mm.
actually still do one house a week because I'm so dedicated to my client. I just love her. She needs me and I need her. And so, I'll probably do that house until I can't walk anymore. I don't know. Just because we have a great connection there. And but yeah, so that's what I did before, Michelle.
Well,
That's what I did.
now what was your what year did you start comedy, in 2018 or before that, or?
That's a great question. So my first like I think it was 4 years or 4 or 5 years in comedy, I only hit the stage 25 times.
Okay.
25 times. And I think I had 3 hours of comedy. And then when I actually started doing comedy, I had like 10 minutes or 5 or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. And then like, I think it was in 2017, that was when I started getting a little bit more stage time. But in 2018, that's when I really started, like, getting a lot more stage time, going to open mics. I was afraid to go to open mics, because open mics were a scary thing, and I knew there were no clean open mics around here, and so I had to be kind of ready for that. And But I started going to, what really was wonderful is I attended the Christian Comedy Association conference, and I
Mm.
believe my first one was in 2015, maybe.
Have we met at the CCA?
We had lunch together. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, we no, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
I'm kidding. Wasn't it awful? I could have kept that on for a while. I'm so mean. I could have kept that going. Don't you remember our conversation? I thought it meant a lot. Anyway, um, we met briefly. The first year, my husband went with me, and he actually split. We split up going to different classes, and you were teaching
Oh,
one of the classes, and he sat in your class and took notes. And his grandfather was named Nazareth, so that was like, and so that was a big deal, because how many people are named
I just
Nazareth?
I just met the other Nazareth 2 days ago in Ohio, and she was from Honduras. She's 20-year-old from Honduras, and her real name is Nazareth as well. So I was excited about that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So okay, so your husband, so he was supportive of you from day one to do comedy.
My husband has been so supportive. It's unbelievable. It was funny. Like, this is how cool God is and how He worked things out. Um, Marty Simpson, because I wanted to. I went to the Clean Comedy Challenge, right? And I
Uh-huh.
wanted to at least place in 2018, just so I'd have that accolade, right? Just so I'd have a
Right.
little something before, like, she's a mom and a wife. And here's Rhonda, I wanted to have, like, she at least came in, as a finalist. That's, at least I have something before my intro. And so I said, "What do I have to do, Marty? What do I have to do?" And he said, you need to get some stage time. You need to hit the open mics." Well, my husband was he was out of work, and he was going he had hurt his knee. And so he was waiting for them to, settle so he could have his knee surgery done.
Hmm.
So he was available. He went with me to every single open mic,
Oh.
every show, every open mic. And the open mics are not the most fun things to go to, for sure.
Oh no.
So
Oh
that is
no.
true. That is called true love.
Right. Now, Teresa wants to know what part of New England are you from? Which is Rhode Island, but where did you grow up in Massachusetts?
So I grew up in New Bedford, Massachusetts. I'm sorry, you have to say it like this: New Bedford, Mass.
New
That's how you have
Bedford,
to say it.
Mass.
New Bedford, New Bedford, New Bedford, Mass. That's where I grew up, and then we bought a house in Rhode Island, right near the airport. So
What would you like to see? Would you like to see your comedy in the next few years? I mean, do you have the aspiration to like be a headliner, do your own shows? Is that something, or would you rather be a speaker kind of funny speaker? What would you like to see?
um, I don't see myself as a speaker as of right now.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I don't know where God sees me. So I just said to him, I said, the answer is yes. And whatever the question is, to whatever the question is, I have to say yes. So
Mm.
I have to, honestly, it's whatever God has for me. I didn't see myself doing what I'm doing now, working in the environments that I'm working in. I was going to be in all churches in my mind. Like, that's where I saw myself. So
Mm.
I can't say, I would love to do, I'd love to do, um, the whole church market, and I have done that as well. But I have to say, wherever God really has me, that's where I have to go,
Mm.
because that's who I'm following. I don't have, like, my dreams and aspirations aren't so I get famous. I'm not trying to get famous. Um, you know, I want to work. I love comedy so much. I love the opportunity to just see joy in people's faces, and just I love that.
Mm.
And I love being around comics. I love the way their minds think. It's just I love all of it.
What
All right,
is?
maybe not the sleepless nights, when you have to,
Yeah, I
get on a
know.
plane like at 3 in the morning. Okay, maybe that's not the fun part, but
I know my flight was canceled. I have to get stuck in Chicago overnight 2 days ago. So I
mm,
know it's like but then COVID I think taught all of us as comedians is to stop complaining and just hey, we're
oh
happy we
yeah,
have to work. How did
yeah.
that affect you? How did COVID affect you?
Oh, okay. So that was tough, Naz. That was tough. Especially around here, everything shut down. Like, and it was, I could see, like, in my career, it was starting to, like, and when I think everybody had a lot of that, but it was just finally starting. I had some sweet things lined up. I was so excited about them, and I was going to work with some people that I really was looking forward to working with, and just the whole thing, and then everything shut right down.
Mhm.
And so I was going absolutely insane, and all right, more insane than I am now. And so that's when I decided to start my online show, Talk is Cheap.
Mhm.
And because I was flipping through social media and I was seeing such negativity, and just, it was just making me like, ugh. I was like, I want to create a place on Facebook, where people can go and just have fun for a little while. And I want to be creative. And I saw people doing shows, and I was like, well, if I was going to do a show, I'd do this and I would do that. And it's like, well, you know what? Then do it. Like, what do you
Right.
have to lose? Like, just do it. So I was like,
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. This is gold. This is gold. What you're saying, because there's a lot of people that need to hear that. So I'm gonna take this, rewind it, and go back. Uh, this is what I would like to do if I have a show, or some of you are going. I would love to do this. Well, do it. You did it, and you did 100 shows of it.
yeah, I'm
Tell us,
120.
tell me more about it. Tell me more about it. How did the first steps? What was the fear? What was overcoming that? What was that like?
Yeah, so yeah, actually, so we are, well, I'll go right to the end. We're Tonight I did show 120. So
Wow.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
This
exciting.
Today is show 119. So you're show 119. I'm one behind you.
Ah. So I was just, so like I said, I had all these ideas, like I would do this and I would do that. It's like, well, then you know what? Then just do it. Just do it then. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I wanted to create kind of a variety show. I wanted to have like something, people do interviews, and honestly, I'm not great at interviewing. There's so many people that do it so much better than I do. So I just wanted something that people could see, like some of my funny friends that they've never met before, because they're not famous, but they're amazing comics, and they're
Mhm.
awesome people, and they're funny. I wanted them to meet them,
Mhm.
and they needed a platform, because there was no they weren't everybody was sitting home, right? So I
Right.
wanted to do that. Number one, I wanted to bring some kind of worth. So I would bring somebody in that maybe had musical talent, or and somebody in that maybe could give you some useful information. Like I brought in a dietitian, I brought in an esthetician, I brought in um, uh, financial advisor. I brought in different people. They do like a 10-minute segment or something like that. But then at least they could walk away with a little information too,
Right.
And then I had, usually it was two comics on. I'd have two comics on, and then I wanted to do a game. So I created all these crazy games. Like every single show was a new game, and I was having fun I think the titles were more fun than anything sometimes. And they would play for a hand sanitizer. They play for my
I
Rhonda Corey
won
comedy
one.
hand
I
sanitizer.
got
Yeah,
one. I
you
got
got
one in
one,
the
right?
mail.
Yeah. So and so they play against each other, and I would always try to pair up the comics with someone so it would flow nicely, so it would be a nice flow. And like friends, I like to put two friends together because then it's more fun. And then if you're having fun, then everybody else in the audience is having fun. So like tonight's game was called Serial Killers. And so what we did is we had different cereal boxes, and like the title of the name brand was gone, and they had to guess what the cereal was. And then my audience plays along. I want to make it, I make sure that just like you do, you talk to your audience. I mean, the audience is an integral part of the show. I wanted to make sure that they were in on it too. So I include them as well. And, it's been just so much fun. I'm so thankful to have that outlet. I started with 2 shows a week. And then, then things started getting busier. I used to do it on Thursdays and Sundays. And then I went to one night a week, and then I do it on Tuesdays. Yeah.
I wonder, question before I ask you my question. Rhonda from Michael Ramirez. If you're having a bad day, is it more hard to make people laugh?
So like if I'm having a bad day and I go on stage,
Yeah.
Actually, I've had instances where it's like it kind of get out of that zone, and I go into the performance zone, and it can actually be a pickup. It's kind of like I kind of can't wait to get on stage, Michael. It's fun for me. So that's actually lifted my spirits when I get to work.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Now for back to your what do you call it, podcast talk show? It's more of a talk show, and
yeah.
I'm more curious. In my podcast, I'm curious. I love people. I want to know about them. I want to get some knowledge and wisdom from them. And that's why I would have like a physician or a comedian or a model or an actor or someone. But I want to get them the whole hour. And that's why I made, another show where the audience are the funny, which called Live on That. But you kind of mix it all together. And I remember you did have me with my comedy writing partner, Robert G.
Yeah.
Lee. So it was fun. It's a fun show. How hard is it for you to prepare for that?
It is a lot of preparation. I have to be honest. At first I have to book the show and I usually have 3 people on the show. So I have to book all 3 people. And then I do a sound check ahead of time because, it's just hard with all the tech stuff. And I want to make sure that everybody, I'm trying to prepare for it and make it as professional as possible, because nobody wants, to go on and like, oh, what happened here? And then that does happen, but I try to make sure that it doesn't. So I try to plan ahead. And then of course, and this, you have to find out you have to get, I have to get headshots from the person, and I have to get their bio, and I have to get some other information. So I have to get all that from 3 people, right?
Right, that's a lot.
And set up sound checks, and I try to set 1 up, but sometimes I've set up 3, because that's, everybody's schedule. And then, and then I have to create the game, and then I have to make sure I have all the bios. Then I have to have set up my Chewy cam. I have my dog.
Oh, tell us about Chewy. Michelle Van Dusen wants to know. Tell us about Chewy.
So Chewy, since the pandemic, like, I mean, he's always been a little needy, my dog, okay? And since the pandemic, he just was like, "Well, I want to be by your side and you're my butler." He thinks that, that I'm his butler now.
Uh-huh.
And so he has to be by my side every minute. So when I was doing the show, he needed to be by my side. So I figured, let's make him part of the show. So I have a camera just for him. I call it the Chewy Cam, and he's actually here right.
Can you
I
show
can
us
I
the
can
Chewy
kind of
Cam?
I can kind of let's
What kind
see.
of dog is it? Is
He's
he?
oh, can you see him? Let me see if I move my. Can you see him?
Yeah.
Let me see
Yeah,
if I
yeah, yeah.
move that a little bit. Oh, I'm like, there he is. There he is. I
Is
can
he a
move it.
German
Yeah.
Shepherd or
He
no?
is
What is?
he is only a 10-pound dog.
Oh,
He's
10
part
pound.
he's a part Papillon and part Yorkshire Terrier. So we think that's what we think he is. And I've had him, he just turned 16.
Oh, you
I
know
know.
what? The camera gave him 10 pounds, you know.
The
To
camera
look.
did it again. So he looks like
Oh,
he's 20 pounds, but he's only 10.
yeah.
I hope
Our
he's not doing that to me.
Is he 16 now?
He's 16 years old. I like this dog has been like a godsend to me. I swear. He's just been through so much. It's been I love him. He's like my little son with fur.
Are you prepared? Because we had a 15 and a half. Since he was born, we had our dachshund, and he was 15 and a half. And
Mm-mm,
I always thought, it's a dog, and people say, we lost that.
mm-mm.
You got to prepare yourself
I don't think
for
I
the,
can ever prepare myself. I'm telling you, I know you will have to wipe me and scrape me up off the floor. I know it's going to happen. I mean, it's inevitable, right?
right.
And I don't care. I know dogs go to heaven, so he will be waiting for me, but unless I go first, which is kind of creepy. But
Yeah.
no, I'm serious. Like I am so attached. He is such a good dog. I am so attached to this dog. I'm telling you, I'll be a mess. I already know. Everybody knows I will just be a puddle because he's brought so much joy and comfort into my life,
Hmm.
when I've gone through the loss of my mom and my dad and just circumstances that you go through and your dog like your dog's God's always by your side, but so is Chewy. I'm not
What
gonna lie.
what does your son think about your comedy? How does he is he embarrassed? Does he support it? What does he do? What does he think about it?
Well, I do a few jokes about him in my act, but what I do is that, my husband, because it's on my life, and my husband and my son are both in my bits, and they're, pretty true to life. Um, but I always ask him ahead of time if this is okay, because I
Mm.
don't want to ever embarrass him or I always make sure that for both of them, my husband too, my husband's like, who cares. But like with Alex, there was a couple of things that I kind of felt it and he said no, and I said, okay, then I'm not going to do it. But he's pretty cool with my comedy. He actually helps me with my show a lot every Tuesday night, which is kind
Mm.
of nice. It brought us even closer together. He helps me with a lot of the tech stuff that I couldn't do on my own.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, your dry bar comedy is coming
Mm,
out this year, and it's really, I mean, what a perfect timing, because now I truly believe we're over the COVID thing. Everybody got
mm.
the Omicron. Everybody is no care. So I mean, I'm booked every single weekend, 3 days every single weekend for the next few months. The last few, never thought that's gonna happen, but it's back. So I'm assuming everybody's work is gonna be working, but what a perfect timing that yours will come out, and you're gonna get a lot of work from it. You know that
Oh,
idea.
I just
You will,
please.
you will, you will. It's credibility, and it's a
Mm.
lot of millions of people watch Dry Bar religiously, and yeah, you will get work. But are you prepared to travel and go and do all that?
Oh yes. So we had started talking about the pandemic and how everything had closed down, and so I was asked to do a dry bar. And so I was like, well, nothing is open around here. I need stage time, right? And
Right.
so, yeah, so I said, well, let's wait. And then I got asked to do another date, and I said, well, it's still nothing's open around here. And then I was asked a third time, and I'm like, I better
Take it.
I better take it, or they're gonna stop asking, right?
Hmm.
And so I picked a date, and I was trying to arrange some things so I could, I had to fly out of here. I couldn't do There's nothing around here
Right.
open. And so I was so thankful because they shut the whole thing down. And so then I had to pick another date, and I had a date that was, the furthest out that I could
Uh-huh.
go. And then I just set up. I went to, gosh, I went to Michigan, I went to Indiana, I went to Arizona. I had a couple of gigs around here. I did as much, time out there as I possibly could. And I flew all over the place, and then I finally flew to Seattle.
Provo.
I mean,
Provo.
Provo. Oh,
Beautiful.
I had Brad on my show tonight, and he was from Seattle.
He's
That's why
from
I have that
Seattle.
stuck in my head. Yeah. So we did talk about you, by the way. And
Oh, you
so
did.
yeah, we did. We did.
Did he remember that
He,
Michael Douglas thing?
well, he said yes, he did, and he remembered working with you. Like, I worked with him like 30 years ago. He said,
Yeah.
and so anyway, so yeah, so I had to try to get some stage time. You know how that is. Like,
Yeah.
first I wanted to really get that down, and then just how I had to go all over the place to make sure that I was prepared for that. And so God opened up doors, so I'm very thankful for that, and it was so much fun.
Mm. Yes. Question. Uh, hey, Rhonda, when will you have a California gig?
Bobby, I don't know, but as soon as I do, I will be happy to do it. When someone asks me to come to California and do a gig, I'm there. Are you kidding? I love California. My brother used to live in San Diego,
Oh,
and so I used to visit him quite often.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So anytime, hey, get me a gig out there, and I'm gonna do it.
Sarah, what's the worst gig you've ever had? Sarah
Oh,
Voth is
wow.
asking you.
What's the worst? I've had quite a few.
What an honest comment.
I know.
That's funny.
What's the worst? There's a whole there's a oh my gosh. Um I've had a gig where it was 12 o'clock noon. I was
Ah,
at a I was at it was outdoors. This is before COVID, so this is before it was cool.
you
Um
already said two bad things. Outdoor and at noon.
Outdoors noon in
Okay.
front of a pool.
Ah, so there's a
Okay?
pool and then the audience.
The people round the pool,
Uh-huh.
they didn't know there was a comedy show. It was put on. So it was like a surprise comedy show, I guess. I don't know how it was advertised. So it was just so bad. And there's like people that are like, "What, mommy, when can we go in the pool?" I mean, it was hilarious. But I gotta tell you, what I love about those gigs
Uh-huh.
is that those are what makes you stronger. Because if you can do something like that, then if a joke doesn't go over in a crowd, you're like, that's nothing. At least you're not jumping in the pool, I mean, it's
You know
like,
what the other thing other than making you stronger is the next gig, the
mm,
next normal gig, you enjoy it so much and you're like, that's easy. I can do that.
yeah. So that
Wow.
that was a gig with, you don't have a lot of control, so you just do the best you can. But I also had here's one time where I messed up. Okay,
Hmm.
so uh, I get booked on the show. I'm new in the area. It's a fundraiser. One of the partners was actually, who's actually a comic, but he was actually at the show. So I was probably a little intimidated, and I was a little newer back then. And
Mm.
so I get on stage, and in I don't even think it was the middle. I don't know. I was doing pretty, I was doing all right. I totally go blank. Like,
Oh,
I mean, and so, like, so as a comedian, you have what's coming out here and then what's going on in here, right?
yes, yes.
So I'm like, I have nothing. So I'm like, go to the next joke. I'm saying to myself, like, go to the next joke. And I'm like, then I start going into the crowd. So how many years you been married? And I have a Fitbit joke, and I was like, so I got a Fitbit. I got a Fitbit. I sounded like Rain Man. You know what I mean? I got a Fitbit, like I was like, oh my gosh, would you just go to the next joke? There was nothing there.
There
It
was
was
nothing there. Yeah.
nothing. Like I was like, well, go to like the one down here. Nothing. I got nothing. So I don't know. I did some crowd work, and then I came back. It's like, so how many years you been married? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you guys are gonna be great on the auction. I'm like, still nothing. And then I finally, like something came out. My set was all over the place. Now, when I get off stage, usually, I don't know, I don't hear the laughs like they really are. So I will record my set every time because I always think I did worse than I did, but I know it was bad. And I get off the stage. Now my husband, you know, he goes with me to as many gigs as he can if they're local. And I get off the stage and he's there. He goes, "What the heck was that?"
I've
Because
been
he's
there. I've
usually
been.
so encouraging, and he was just like, "What happened?" Like, I know.
I know.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if you ever watched the Brady Bunch, Naz, but
Yeah, I did.
there's a moment when Cindy Brady goes on a game show, and she's bragging all before, and she gets on the game show, and she starts staring into the camera, and Marsha's on the other end of the TV saying, Baton Rouge, Cindy, you know the answer. Well, I call that my Baton Rouge moment.
It happens where you're like, boom. I mean, it happened to me once, and I remember it where I blanked out. I was like, and then I finally had to admit to the others, guys, listen,
Yeah,
there's nothing up here. I'm
yeah,
I'm completely blank right now. Have you guys ever blanked out? And some people go, no. I'm like, come on, work with me, people here. But yeah, you're right. So, what do you? Ah, what
Bobby
is the
Miller
thing?
knows what I'm talking about. That's right, Bobby.
Yes,
He saw it.
yes. The big red light on the camera goes on, and she's staring into the camera.
Yeah,
Well,
that was
okay.
me.
Sarah wants to fix this. What was one of your best gigs,
Mm,
Rhonda?
what was one of my best gigs?
You have to remember your best
Yeah, I
gig.
know. I'm like, um, oh, uh, it was, um, it was recently. I had this gig. It was like a dinner show. It was dinner and then a comedy show. And I had a whole table of friends that had gone. Sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad.
That's bad.
Um, but like when you have like just the perfect storm, like it's a nice tight room, and everybody's nice and close, and they're all just there to have fun and to laugh. And it was just, I had like a nice sweet spot, you know what I mean? A couple of comics had already gone up, and I was in the zone,
Uh
you
huh.
know,
That's the
and like
zone.
I was just having fun, and my jokes were just like every joke was hitting. Every joke was hitting. And it was just, I was just having a blast, and they were having a blast. And that is like so fun. I can't even tell you, like when it just all melts together, to make just a beautiful sweet, and there's nothing like just seeing people rolling, and just having
Right.
so much fun, and you're like, they like me, they really like me. No, you know,
You know,
just
comedian Mike Williams always says, he said, "You're as good as your last show."
yes.
But I disagree with him because I'll tell you what, it's shows like this, like the one you were just talking about, can fuel you for another few months. You can have two or three normal bad shows, and you go, I remember that show, and that's I'm really good. I can, I'm really good. It's not me, it's them now. It's not me. I did.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
I record all my shows, like at least voice record it. So if I have a bad show, I will listen. I listen to everything, but and I just recently had one that I wasn't really happy with. Like I don't know, I was having an off day. We all have an off day. It's just usually we don't do it in front of the front of an audience, right?
Yeah.
So we get to witness it. But so what I'll do is I'll go back and listen to a good set that I have. So that'll boost my confidence because it's really easy to get like, I am horrible. Like, why am I doing this? And it's like, no, 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 no. You had an off day. That's all. We all have
Yeah.
off days, and you're not horrible. Remember those people? They enjoyed it. They thought your jokes were funny, and they had a good time. So so I don't get stuck.
Yeah, I used to. I mean, I have a folder called my Lift Me Up folder, and it has flyers from like big concert I did. It has other, pictures or articles from newspapers, magazines, and stuff. And when I do a great show, I always like I have the flyer from that show, and I put it, and just picks you up when you're
Mhm.
down. Like you've had couple, three shows that weren't happening, or you're not getting booked a lot. You go, wait a
Mhm.
minute. Oh, so you go look up at, pick me up folder or pick me up. I have it online now. I just go over it quickly. I go, yeah, I'm not that bad. It's
Right.
okay.
Right.
But what do you call it? What is pu- uh, what are you writing now? What kind of material are you? Do you have a direction with your comedy right now? Are you trying to say something with it, or just for fun?
Yeah, I mean, I just take things like real life situations, or
Mhm.
something that strikes me as funny. Like I can tell you a bit I'm working on if you want to hear that.
Yes.
All right, so I'm just thinking about like, you know, how I have so many friends at this stage in life that they're all, athletic friends, they've always been in the gym and they're always, they're runners or whatever. And now they're all having to replace all of their their body parts, they're having to get new knees and new hips and new shoulders. And I'm like, not me.
Original
Mine
parts,
'cause mine
baby.
mine are, like, new, like, gently used, like, still new in the original packaging because, you know,
I
I
didn't
watch
abuse
Netflix.
them like you did. I
That's
watched
right,
Netflix.
so I'm kinda working on that, but it's just things that'll strike me funny, like that. And so or I'll say something, I'm like, "Excuse me a second," and I, like, write it down on my phone because I'm like, "That's funny," because like, we think funny, I think, or we find a situation. So if I think of something that I think is funny, it goes in my phone a lot of times or whatever, and so, and then I'll try to work on that bit.
You could say I watch ESPN. I wasn't on it, like you did. That's yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I'm like, it's funny how you're working on something, you're thinking of something. Like today, I was thinking of like I've been trying to talk to Hertz and Verizon, and they keep sending me to this what do you call it, virtual assistant, which is an intelligent artificial. I'm like, at least we used to complain about the Indian accent people that were answering the phone. At least you could talk to them while they're trying to fix the problem. I'm talking to an artificial, versus. So when were you? When were you? So, oh yeah, I was made in Japan. So how old are you? I'm 3.2. Okay, can I speak to your virtual supervisor and stuff like that? And I'm going into the. I know it's still a lot to work on,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's funny how we have that privilege that
Mhm.
whatever we think about, we can put it somewhere and then go on stage and do it and perform. What advice do you have to women listening and watching the show right now?
Advice as far as
As an experience from a woman like you who doing what she loves to do, have a husband that's very supportive, have a son that supports her. I mean, you're doing something right in a world that people feel relationships are going wrong, marriages are
Mm,
going wrong. What kind of advice do you have?
um, well, first of all, what's most important to me is relationships.
Mm,
So I put my relationships first, um, because that's what's gonna last. You know,
mm,
when I get to meet Jesus face to face, his first words aren't going to be, "So, how many shows did you book?" Or, "Oh, you opened for this person, or you worked with this person, or you headlined here." That's not going to. None of that is going to matter. So I want to invest in things that will matter. On the other side of heaven too. So relationships are very important to me. And as far as like, don't think that you're too old to start something.
ooh,
And
good.
because I started this, I'm not telling you how old I am, but I'm not a kid.
I'm
Let's
not
just
asking.
go
I'm not
good because
either.
I just feel like I don't want to. I don't know. I never used to care about telling, but I'm like, no, hopefully these filters make me look younger. And so, but you're never too old. Like, who cares? Like, and if you want to do something, just do it, and when you're afraid, I'll have to tell you, I'm afraid to do everything. I was afraid to fly somewhere, to go anywhere by myself. I don't like any of that. I'm afraid to do everything. I had the biggest stage fright. It would like paralyze me before I would go on stage. I'm not kidding you. Like
Mm,
I had incredible stage fright, but
but you
I
did go on stage.
I want to do this, you know what I want to do is more important than what my fear is. So do it afraid. Whatever it
Do it
is,
afraid.
do it afraid. I think that's like huge.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. That's powerful. That is powerful. Whatever you do, do it afraid. That's because
Mhm,
if you let fear, yeah, stop you, you'll never. And people don't know that we still like after all these. I mean, I've done over 4,000 stage time shows. I still sometimes you get fearful. I mean, you're
mhm,
going on stage for a new audience, doesn't know who you are,
mhm,
and you still have to go up and win their approval one more time. So,
mhm.
your show, how can people watch your podcast, your talk show, Talk a Sheep? How can they watch that?
So there's a couple of different ways. I stream live every Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time.
4:30 our
Um,
time.
mhm, mhm. And you can go on and subscribe on my page on YouTube, which is Rhonda Corey Comedy, and also on Facebook, Rhonda Corey Comedy on Facebook. You can go and like my page, and I'll be like so happy because I would love for you to like my page. And I've been trying to put up some humorous memes, and just to have just to be a little more interactive and to be a little more social on my social media. And definitely, I would love for you to stop by and check out my show. You can go and check out all my old shows. They're on YouTube, and also on the Creative Network on Roku as well,
Right.
after the fact. But yeah, definitely go and look. We have a show. You can go check out Nazareth's show. He's with Robert G. Lee, and you can go check that show out too. But yeah,
Out.
every
Oh,
Tuesday night.
here comes the Canadian Rhode Island out. Well, speaking of out, thank you so much, Rhonda, for taking the time. I know you just got off your own show. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, we can work together. I will remember that.
I love it.
So, thank you so much. I pray that your dry bar would just get you a lot of work, a lot of success.
Oh,
Are
I
you going to
pray
be at the
that.
CCA in June in
Oh,
Indiana?
I can't wait. Yes, I'm definitely going to be there. You're going to be there, right?
I booked my not the ticket because I have a show in Nashville the day before Sunday, but I already reserved my place in there. Of course, I would love to be there. So hopefully I'll see
Wonderful.
you there. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Rhonda, for your time. And guys, go to Rhonda Corey comedy on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe, watch her podcast, and when you're done, come back and watch ours. And we'll see you at 8:30 p.m. tonight on every weeknight on Facebook under Comedian Nazareth. Thank you so much, and God bless you. I appreciate
You.
you. Bye
Bye.
bye. And you guys, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Please let your friends know. We're starting to get a lot more downloads, like in the thousands now. So praise God for that. Thanks to you. So let's keep it going. All right. Love you guys, and we'll see you at 8:30 tonight Pacific time. God bless you, and have a great